How many lives do you have left? Edgar Cayce's shocking answer. Close your eyes for just a moment. Feel your breath moving in and out of your body. In this very instant, as your heart beats and your soul inhabits this physical form, a profound question whispers through the depths of your being. How many more times will you return to this earth before your journey is complete? This isn't merely philosophical curiosity. It's the ultimate inquiry that every soul carries in its deepest chambers, a question that touches the very essence of why you're here, why you've suffered, why you've loved, and why you continue to seek something greater than what this world can offer. Edgar Cayce, America's most documented psychic, spent over 4 decades in a trance-like state, accessing what he called the Akashic records, the cosmic library containing every soul's complete history. Through over 14,000 documented readings, he discovered something that would forever change how we understand the journey of reincarnation. What he found was shocking. Souls don't cycle endlessly through countless lifetimes. Instead, each soul follows a precise spiritual curriculum with a specific number of incarnations needed to complete its earthly education. Some souls have hundreds of lives stretching before them like an endless horizon. Others stand unknowingly at their final incarnation, living their last opportunity for earthly graduation. But perhaps most startling of all, Cayce revealed that this number isn't fixed. Through conscious choice and spiritual development, a soul can dramatically reduce the incarnations needed to return home to the source. The very question you're asking right now, about your remaining lives, may signal that your soul is preparing for its final chapters on Earth. Tonight, we'll journey together through the stages of soul evolution, the markers that reveal where you stand in your incarnation count, and the profound choices that could change your spiritual timeline forever. Edgar Cayce never intended to become humanity's recorder of incarnation cycles. When he first entered the deep trance state that would define his life's work, he thought he was simply helping people with their immediate health concerns. But the source speaking through him had a far grander purpose in mind. Over 2,500 life readings poured through Cayce's unconscious state, each one revealing not just past lives, but the intricate pattern of a soul's complete journey through physical existence. Unlike Eastern traditions that spoke of endless cycling through samsara, Cayce's readings revealed something far more purposeful and finite. In one documented case preserved in the ARE archives, a woman came seeking understanding of her repeated relationship difficulties. Cayce's reading revealed she had lived 23 previous earthly incarnations and had 7 more scheduled before her soul's graduation. Each lifetime, she explained, was carefully designed to teach specific lessons about love, forgiveness, and service to others. This wasn't random cosmic recycling. Each soul, Cayce discovered, enters physical existence with a predetermined curriculum, a series of experiences, relationships, and challenges designed to develop specific spiritual qualities. Like students progressing through grade levels, souls advance through incarnations as they master essential lessons about consciousness, compassion, and their relationship with the divine. The readings revealed that every soul originates from the same source, but each follows a unique pathway home. Some souls choose the scenic route, taking hundreds of lifetimes to explore every aspect of physical existence. Others, driven by an intense longing for reunion with their Creator, accelerate their learning and complete their earthly education in far fewer incarnations. But what determines these different paths? What cosmic algorithm decides whether a soul needs 50 more lifetimes or just 5? The mathematics of spiritual evolution operates on principles far more sophisticated than simple cause and effect. Through thousands of readings, Cayce uncovered the intricate factors that determine a soul's incarnation count, creating what we might call the universe's graduation algorithm. Three primary elements shape how many lives remain in your earthly curriculum. First, your soul's karmic balance, the sum total of all actions, thoughts, and intentions across every lifetime. This isn't a cosmic punishment system, but rather a precise learning mechanism, ensuring that every soul experiences both giving and receiving, leading and following, causing pain and healing it. Second, your soul's chosen purposes for this earth experience. Some souls come specifically to master creativity, others to learn leadership, and still others to develop healing abilities. Each purpose requires different incarnations to fully develop. A soul focused on artistic expression might need dozens of lifetimes exploring various creative mediums, while a soul pursuing spiritual mastery could accelerate through fewer but more intensive incarnations. Most surprisingly, Cayce revealed that the third factor, your capacity for unconditional love, could override all other considerations. In one remarkable reading, he described a soul originally scheduled for 40 more incarnations who reduced that number to just 3 through a single lifetime of profound service and forgiveness. This spiritual algorithm isn't static. Every choice you make, every act of kindness or cruelty, every moment of awakening or spiritual sleep feeds into the cosmic calculation of your remaining incarnations. The universe keeps perfect accounts, but it also offers infinite opportunities for acceleration. Consider the soul who spends lifetime after lifetime accumulating wealth and power, ignoring the suffering of others. Their algorithm might show 100 more incarnations needed to balance this karmic weight. But in a single moment of genuine awakening, choosing to give everything to help others, they could shift their entire spiritual trajectory. This is why your current lifetime matters so profoundly. You're not just living another random incarnation, you're actively participating in the cosmic calculation that determines how many more times you'll return to this classroom called Earth. Every soul begins its earthly journey as a newcomer to physical existence, and Cayce's readings painted a vivid picture of what he called fresh souls, those spirits taking their first steps into the dense vibrations of material reality. These souls typically enter their incarnation cycle with 50 to 200 lifetimes mapped out before them, like spiritual kindergartners facing a long and wondrous education. Their early incarnations focus on fundamental lessons that more advanced souls have already mastered, understanding the consequences of physical actions, learning to navigate relationships with other souls, and discovering how consciousness shapes material experience. In one documented case, Cayce read for a young man experiencing his 7th earthly incarnation. The reading revealed his soul was still learning basic lessons about individual will versus divine will. His first life had been spent in ancient Egypt, where he learned about hierarchy and social structure. His second incarnation in early Greece taught him about beauty and artistic expression. Each subsequent lifetime added another layer to his understanding of what it means to be a conscious soul in a physical body. Fresh souls often live multiple lifetimes focused purely on survival and tribal belonging. They might spend entire incarnations as hunters and gatherers, soldiers and farmers, learning the fundamental rhythms of birth, growth, reproduction, and death. These aren't lesser lifetimes. They're essential building blocks in the architecture of soul development. What's remarkable is that even fresh souls can begin to accelerate their progress from their very first incarnations. Those who develop early spiritual curiosity, who question the nature of existence, who feel drawn to serve others even in primitive circumstances, start building momentum that can dramatically reduce their total incarnation count. Cayce described one soul in her 12th incarnation who was already showing signs of advanced spiritual development. In a lifetime as a Celtic healer, she had chosen to dedicate herself to serving others despite receiving no earthly reward. This single choice of service over self-interest accelerated her graduation timeline by an estimated 30 incarnations. The key insight for fresh souls is that quantity of experience doesn't automatically equal quality of learning. A soul can live 50 lifetimes unconsciously, or 5 lifetimes with deep spiritual awareness, and achieve the same level of development. Perhaps the most challenging phase in any soul's journey is what Cayce identified as the learning plateau, those middle incarnations where souls often become trapped in repetitive patterns, cycling through the same lessons without mastering them. Most souls spend their intermediate phase, typically with 20 to 50 incarnations remaining, caught in what seem like eternal loops. They abuse power in one lifetime, then spend the next learning humility as a servant. They withhold love and compassion in one incarnation, then return to experience the pain of being unloved themselves. They pursue material wealth while ignoring spiritual development, then reincarnate in poverty to understand that true riches lie within. In a particularly illuminating reading, Cayce described a soul who had spent 12 consecutive lifetimes learning the same lesson about pride and humility. In ancient Rome, he was a wealthy senator who looked down on common people. In medieval Europe, he returned as a peasant experiencing the contempt of nobility. In Renaissance Italy, he again achieved wealth and again fell into spiritual arrogance. This pattern repeated across centuries, each incarnation offering the opportunity to break the cycle, each time the soul choosing familiar patterns over growth. But here's what makes the learning plateau so crucial. Souls aren't failing during this phase. They're slowly, methodically developing the spiritual muscle memory needed for lasting transformation. Each repetition builds understanding, even when external progress seems minimal. Like a musician practicing scales, the soul is developing the fundamental skills needed for more advanced spiritual work. The breakthrough moment often comes suddenly. After dozens of lifetimes of repeated patterns, something clicks. The soul finally chooses differently. In that documented case from the ARE archives, the prideful soul's transformation came during a lifetime in 18th century America. Born into wealth again, he encountered a slave who showed him extraordinary kindness, despite being treated poorly. That moment of recognizing dignity in someone society considered inferior broke the cycle forever. From that breakthrough incarnation forward, the soul's remaining lifetimes focused on service, humility, and recognizing the divine in all beings. What might have required 30 more incarnations to learn was compressed into 3, because the soul had finally developed the spiritual reflexes needed for conscious choice. This is the pattern Cayce saw repeatedly. Souls spending many lifetimes building toward breakthrough moments that could completely transform their remaining incarnation count. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when something profound shifts. The repetitive cycles break. The lessons that once took lifetimes to learn begin happening in years, months, or even single moments of illumination. Cayce called this the acceleration point, and it represents one of the most hopeful discoveries in all his readings. A soul with 30 incarnations remaining could potentially complete its earthly education in just 3 lifetimes if it fully embraced what Cayce termed conscious spiritual development. This wasn't wishful thinking or spiritual bypassing. It was a documented phenomenon he witnessed in hundreds of readings. The acceleration often begins when a soul starts asking deeper questions about its existence. Why am I here? What is my true purpose? How can I serve something greater than myself? The very inquiry you're engaged in right now, wondering about your remaining incarnations, often signals a soul approaching its acceleration point. In one remarkable case preserved in the archives, Cayce read for a woman in her 47th incarnation who was originally scheduled for 23 more lifetimes. But something had awakened in her current life. She had begun meditating daily, serving others without expectation of reward, and practicing forgiveness as a spiritual discipline. The reading revealed that her conscious spiritual development had reduced her remaining incarnations to just 5. The key factors that create acceleration are surprisingly simple, yet profoundly challenging to implement. Consistent spiritual practice that maintains your connection to the divine source. Active service to others regardless of recognition or personal benefit. Daily practice of forgiveness, especially toward those who have hurt you most deeply. And perhaps most importantly, choosing love over fear in every situation where this choice presents itself. Cayce emphasized that acceleration isn't about perfection, it's about consciousness. A soul can make mistakes, experience setbacks, even fall into old patterns. But if they maintain conscious awareness and continue choosing growth over comfort, security over stagnation, love over fear, the acceleration continues. The most dramatic accelerations often happen through what appear to be the most difficult circumstances. Souls nearing their acceleration point frequently choose challenging incarnations, not as punishment, but as intensive learning opportunities that can accomplish in one lifetime what might otherwise take many. Your willingness to seek truth, to question your deepest assumptions about reality, to consider that your soul might be working toward graduation, these are all signs that your acceleration point may be much closer than you imagine. How do you recognize a soul that's approaching graduation from the Earth School? Through thousands of readings, Edgar Cayce identified unmistakable characteristics that mark souls in their final phases of incarnation cycles, typically with 1 to 10 earthly lifetimes remaining. These advanced souls carry a quality that's immediately recognizable to those with spiritual sight, an instinctive understanding of universal laws that others must study to grasp. They naturally comprehend that thoughts create reality, that everything is connected through divine energy, that service to others is service to the source itself. This isn't intellectual knowledge, it's cellular wisdom carried from many lifetimes of spiritual development. In one documented reading, Cayce described a soul in her second-to-last incarnation who possessed that ancient knowing that speaks without words. From childhood, she instinctively understood that physical death was merely transition, that healing came through aligning with divine energy, and that every person she encountered was a sacred soul worthy of compassion. Perhaps the most telling marker of advanced souls is their relationship with suffering. Rather than being broken by pain, they've learned to transmute it into wisdom. They understand that difficulties are not punishments, but opportunities for accelerated spiritual development. When faced with loss, betrayal, or physical challenges, they naturally ask not, "Why me?" but, "What am I meant to learn from this?" Advanced souls also experience what Cayce called the longing, a deep, persistent homesickness for a realm they can barely remember but know with absolute certainty exists. Earthly achievements, no matter how significant, feel hollow. Material success brings no lasting satisfaction. They're driven by an inner knowing that their true home lies beyond physical existence, and nothing in this world can fill that sacred emptiness. These souls often struggle with feeling profoundly different from others around them. They carry wisdom that seems to come from nowhere, understand truths that they've never been taught, and feel responsible for healing and serving in ways that can feel overwhelming. They frequently question whether they belong in this world at all. But Cayce revealed something crucial about advanced souls. They often choose their most difficult incarnations precisely because they're approaching graduation. Like students taking final exams, they face comprehensive tests that require them to demonstrate mastery of every lesson Earth provides. The intensity of their incarnations isn't a sign of spiritual failure. It's evidence of their approaching triumph. The loneliness advanced souls experience serves a sacred purpose. It keeps them oriented toward their true home while they complete their final earthly service. Of all Edgar Cayce's revelations about reincarnation, perhaps none were more startling than his descriptions of souls living their final earthly lifetime. These individuals, often unaware of their unique status, carry specific markers that distinguish them from souls still in earlier phases of their incarnation cycles. Souls in their final incarnation frequently experience what Cayce called the Great Awakening, a profound spiritual opening that occurs regardless of their religious background or previous spiritual interest. This awakening isn't gradual. It's often sudden and completely life-altering. They might be living ordinary lives when something triggers an unmistakable recognition that reality is far more vast and purposeful than they previously understood. In one remarkable case from the ARE archives, Cayce read for a 34-year-old businessman who had never shown interest in spiritual matters. Then, during a routine medical procedure, he experienced what he described as downloading divine knowledge. When he emerged from anesthesia, he possessed detailed understanding of metaphysical principles, healing techniques, and universal truths that he had never studied. The reading confirmed this was his final earthly incarnation, and the awakening was his soul's way of accessing all the wisdom accumulated across previous lifetimes. Final incarnation souls feel inexplicably drawn to service, often making dramatic career changes or life adjustments to align with this calling. They might abandon lucrative careers to become teachers, healers, or counselors. They feel compelled to help others awaken spiritually, even when they're still learning themselves. These souls also carry an inner knowing that this lifetime counts in ways their previous lives haven't. They feel an urgent sense of purpose, as if time is running out and they have crucial work to complete. This isn't anxiety, it's the soul's recognition that graduation day approaches. Perhaps most significantly, final incarnation souls often struggle with feeling like strangers in a strange land. They possess wisdom that seems ancient, compassion that encompasses all beings, and perspectives that others find difficult to understand. They frequently feel older than their chronological age suggests, carrying what Cayce called the weight of all lifetimes. But here's Cayce's crucial warning. Final incarnation souls face the greatest tests precisely because they must demonstrate mastery of every lesson Earth provides. Their lives often contain intense challenges designed to prove they can choose love over fear, forgiveness over resentment, service over selfishness, even under the most difficult circumstances. If you've recognized yourself in these descriptions, if you feel that urgent sense of spiritual purpose, if this lifetime feels somehow different from all others you can't quite remember, you may be closer to graduation than you've ever dared to hope. Just when you think you understand the pattern of soul evolution, Edgar Cayce revealed one of his most profound and surprising teachings. Some souls complete their required earthly education, but consciously choose to return for additional incarnations out of pure love and service. These are the souls Cayce called bodhisattva spirits, graduates who could move on to higher dimensions of existence, but choose to remain bound to Earth's cycle of incarnation as teachers, healers, and way showers for souls still learning. They represent the highest form of spiritual evolution, graduation not from Earth, but into conscious co-creation with divine purpose. In one extraordinary reading, Cayce described a soul who had completed her necessary incarnation cycle 3 lifetimes earlier. She could have moved on to what he called the borderland realms of pure service, but chose instead to return as a doctor, specializing in children with special needs. Her choice wasn't driven by karma or unfinished lessons, but by limitless compassion for souls struggling with physical limitations. These voluntary returners often possess characteristics that seem almost superhuman. They heal through touch, know things about people they've never met, and carry peace so profound that others feel calmer simply being in their presence. They're not bound by the same karmic laws as souls still completing their education, which allows them to take on and transmute others' pain and negativity without accumulating karma themselves. But voluntary return carries its own profound challenges. These souls often struggle with depression and hopelessness because they remember at some level the bliss of higher dimensions they've chosen to leave. They feel the weight of humanity's suffering more acutely because they're spiritually equipped to perceive it clearly. They frequently battle the temptation to abandon their service and seek the peace they know awaits them. Cayce revealed that some of history's greatest spiritual teachers, healers, and servants were voluntary returners. They incarnate specifically to help humanity through crucial evolutionary periods, often sacrificing their own comfort and happiness for the spiritual advancement of others. The profound truth is that these souls demonstrate love so pure it transcends personal liberation. They've achieved freedom from the wheel of incarnation, but choose to remain bound to it out of compassion for those still trapped in cycles of unconscious suffering. If you've ever felt like an old soul carrying responsibility for others' spiritual welfare, if you've struggled with inexplicable sadness despite a good life, if you feel called to heal and serve even when it depletes you, you may be among these remarkable souls who chose love over liberation. This choice represents the ultimate expression of spiritual maturity, using freedom to serve rather than to escape. Not every soul moves steadily forward through its incarnation cycle. In some of his most sobering readings, Edgar Cayce revealed that souls could actually increase their remaining lifetimes or even regress to earlier developmental stages through persistent negative choices. Free will, Cayce explained, means souls can choose to learn their lessons the easy way or the hard way. A soul approaching graduation might make choices so contrary to spiritual law that they create massive new karmic debts, requiring many additional incarnations to resolve. In extreme cases, advanced souls could regress to intermediate or even beginning stages of development. In one disturbing case from the archives, Cayce read for a soul who had been only 2 incarnations away from graduation in his previous lifetime. Born into a position of power in ancient Rome, he used his authority to persecute early Christians, causing immense suffering to innocent souls. These choices not only delayed his graduation by an estimated 40 lifetimes, but dropped him back to intermediate soul development, requiring him to relearn lessons about compassion and service he had already mastered. The mechanisms of regression are always rooted in the conscious choice of selfishness over service, fear over love, power over humility. Souls don't accidentally regress. They choose it through persistent patterns of behavior that violate universal spiritual laws. The more advanced the soul, the greater the regression potential, because they're fully aware of the spiritual principles they're violating. But Cayce emphasized a crucial truth. No matter how severe the regression, no soul is ever abandoned by the source. The opportunity for redemption and acceleration always remains available. Even souls who have regressed dramatically can begin climbing back toward graduation in their very next incarnation if they genuinely choose spiritual growth over ego gratification. The reading for that regressed Roman soul revealed that in his current lifetime, he was drawn to work with refugees and persecuted minorities, unconsciously seeking to balance the karma he had created. Through service to those who suffered, he was already beginning to restore his graduation timeline. Regression isn't punishment, it's education. Souls who fall backward do so to truly understand the consequences of their choices and to develop genuine compassion for all beings who suffer. Sometimes the deepest spiritual growth comes from experiencing the full weight of our capacity for both darkness and light. The warning for all souls, regardless of their development level, is clear. Every choice matters. Every decision to choose love or fear, service or selfishness, humility or pride, feeds into the cosmic algorithm determining your spiritual future. Your current incarnation isn't just about completing your designated lessons. It's about demonstrating the quality of consciousness you've developed across all your lifetimes. How can you sense where you stand in your own incarnation cycle? Edgar Cayce suggested that souls carry unmistakable internal compasses that reveal their spiritual development level, if you know how to read the signs. The most reliable indicator isn't your chronological age, education level, or material success. It's your natural inclinations when faced with life's fundamental choices. Do you instinctively seek spiritual truth over material advancement? When others are suffering, do you feel compelled to help even when there's no benefit to yourself? Do earthly achievements feel hollow, while acts of service bring deep satisfaction? Advanced souls consistently choose the more difficult but spiritually meaningful path. They're naturally drawn to healing others' pain, even when they're struggling themselves. They feel responsible for humanity's spiritual welfare in ways that can seem overwhelming. Most tellingly, they respond to spiritual teachings not with intellectual curiosity, but with deep recognition, as if they're remembering rather than learning. In one illuminating reading, Cayce described how to recognize soul age through what he called inner authority. Advanced souls don't need external validation for their spiritual insights because they carry authority earned through lifetimes of experience. They know certain truths about reality not because they've read them, but because they've lived them across multiple incarnations. Your response to this very teaching offers clues about your development level. New souls might find these concepts interesting but abstract. Intermediate souls often feel excited by the possibilities for acceleration. Advanced souls typically experience a sense of coming home, recognition that they've finally found teachings that match their inner knowing. Another powerful indicator is your relationship with time and mortality. Advanced souls feel urgency not about personal achievement but about spiritual service. They're acutely aware that time is limited and feel compelled to use every moment for growth and helping others. They often struggle with impatience, not with people, but with the pace of humanity's spiritual evolution. Perhaps the most telling sign is what Cayce called the ancient sadness, a persistent melancholy that has nothing to do with personal circumstances. This isn't depression. It's the soul's grief over humanity's suffering and its own temporary separation from divine source. Advanced souls carry this sadness like a sacred wound, transformed into compassion through lifetimes of spiritual development. The number of incarnations you have left matters less than the quality of consciousness you bring to this one. Whether you're a new soul with many lifetimes ahead or an advanced soul approaching graduation, this moment offers the same sacred opportunity to choose love over fear, service over selfishness, awakening over unconsciousness. For souls ready to complete their earthly education quickly, Edgar Cayce outlined specific practices that could dramatically reduce their remaining incarnation count. These weren't theoretical concepts, but practical disciplines he observed working in real people's lives. The most powerful acceleration practice is what Cayce called consistent divine attunement, daily meditation that maintains your conscious connection to the source. This isn't just relaxation or stress relief. It's actively aligning your consciousness with divine will and wisdom. Souls who meditate with sincere spiritual intent often accomplish in one lifetime what might otherwise take dozens of unconscious incarnations. In one remarkable case, Cayce read for a woman who had reduced her remaining lifetimes from 18 to 3 through a decade of dedicated daily meditation. The reading revealed that her consistent spiritual practice had allowed her to access and integrate wisdom from all her previous incarnations, accelerating her soul's graduation timeline exponentially. The second acceleration practice is active service to others regardless of recognition or personal benefit. But this must be genuine service, not ego-driven charity. Advanced souls serve because they recognize the divine in all beings, not because they want to be seen as spiritual or good. This service often involves taking on others' pain and transmuting it through spiritual understanding. Daily forgiveness practice represents the third crucial element. Cayce emphasized that holding resentment, anger, or bitterness literally binds souls to the incarnation cycle. Every grudge is a spiritual chain that must be dissolved before graduation. Forgiveness isn't about condoning harmful behavior. It's about freeing your soul from karmic entanglements that require additional lifetimes to resolve. But the most transformative practice Cayce identified was choosing love over fear in every possible situation. This sounds simple but requires tremendous spiritual courage. When someone betrays you, choose compassion over revenge. When faced with loss, choose gratitude for what you've experienced over bitterness about what's gone. When confronted with others' hatred, choose understanding over defensiveness. One lifetime of consistently choosing love over fear, Cayce taught, could accomplish what might otherwise require dozens of incarnations spent learning the same lesson through suffering and struggle. The soul that makes love its primary response to all situations demonstrates mastery of Earth's essential curriculum. These practices work synergistically. Meditation develops the spiritual awareness needed to recognize choice points. Service provides opportunities to practice love in action. Forgiveness clears karmic debts. Choosing love over fear demonstrates mastery of Earth's greatest lesson. Your soul's graduation doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on the quality of consciousness you maintain regardless of what life brings. Whether you sense you're a new soul with many lifetimes stretching ahead, or an advanced soul approaching graduation, Edgar Cayce emphasized that every stage of development serves essential purpose in the cosmic symphony of spiritual evolution. New souls bring gifts that advanced souls sometimes forget: fresh enthusiasm for physical existence, unburdened curiosity about material creation, and the pure joy of discovery. They provide the energetic foundation that keeps spiritual communities vibrant and growing. Their questions often illuminate truths that advanced souls take for granted. Intermediate souls form the stable backbone of humanity's spiritual development. They're learning to balance material and spiritual needs, developing the emotional maturity needed for lasting relationships, and building the character strength required for advanced service. Their struggles and breakthroughs inspire both newer and older souls. Advanced souls offer wisdom, guidance, and healing energy that helps all souls progress more quickly. They serve as bridges between earthly and divine consciousness, translating spiritual truths into forms others can understand and apply. Their presence elevates the spiritual vibration of entire communities. Final incarnation souls carry the sacred responsibility of demonstrating that earthly graduation is possible. Their lives serve as proof that souls can master Earth's lessons and return to conscious unity with the Source. They inspire hope in souls still struggling through their incarnation cycles. Even voluntary returners serve crucial purposes, choosing to incarnate during humanity's most challenging periods to provide spiritual leadership and healing. Their sacrifice demonstrates the ultimate expression of divine love, using freedom to serve rather than to escape. In one beautiful reading, Cayce described how souls at different development levels naturally support each other's growth. New souls provide vitality and fresh perspectives. Intermediate souls offer practical wisdom and emotional stability. Advanced souls contribute spiritual insight and healing energy. Each stage needs the others for complete spiritual community. Your current development level isn't a judgment of your worth. It's simply an indication of where you stand in your unique journey home to the Source. Some souls choose the scenic route, exploring every aspect of physical existence across many lifetimes. Others prefer the express path, focusing intensively on spiritual development to graduate quickly. Neither approach is superior. Both serve the divine plan for consciousness evolution. The only mistake is remaining unconscious about your choices, letting lifetime after lifetime pass without deliberate spiritual development. No matter which stage describes your current development, this incarnation offers unlimited potential for growth, service, and movement toward graduation. While Edgar Cayce could access specific incarnation counts for individuals, through his psychic readings, he taught something more important than knowing your exact number. Understanding that this moment, right now, offers the same precious opportunity regardless of how many lives you have left. Whether you have 5 incarnations remaining or 500, this lifetime contains identical potential for spiritual transformation. The soul approaching graduation and the soul beginning its journey both face the same essential choices: love or fear, service or selfishness, consciousness or unconsciousness, awakening or spiritual sleep. In one of his most profound insights, Cayce revealed that souls often become too focused on their incarnation count and miss the sacred purpose of their current lifetime. He described souls who spent entire incarnations trying to figure out their spiritual development level while neglecting the growth opportunities right in front of them. Your soul's graduation doesn't depend on the quantity of incarnations you've completed, but on the quality of consciousness you bring to each moment. A single decision made with complete spiritual awareness can transform your entire incarnation timeline. One act of genuine selfless service can balance karma that might otherwise require lifetimes to resolve. The cosmic algorithm calculating your remaining lifetimes constantly updates based on your choices. Every thought aligned with divine will, every action motivated by love, every moment of conscious spiritual practice feeds into this sacred mathematics. Your incarnation count isn't fixed destiny. It's fluid possibility responding to your spiritual development. Consider the profound responsibility and opportunity this represents. In this very moment, as you contemplate these teachings, you're actively participating in determining your spiritual future. Your willingness to seek truth, your desire to serve others, your commitment to choosing love over fear, all of these influence the cosmic calculation of your remaining earthly education. The most advanced souls Cayce encountered shared one common characteristic. They stopped caring about their incarnation count and started focusing entirely on living this lifetime with complete spiritual consciousness. They understood that the question isn't, how many lives do I have left, but how consciously can I live the life I have now? Your soul carries perfect wisdom about its incarnation timeline. Trust the inner knowing that brought you to these teachings. Let it guide you toward whatever graduation awaits, knowing that each choice for love over fear, service over selfishness, consciousness over unconsciousness, moves you closer to your eternal home. Chapter 14. The question that changes everything. The very fact that you've journeyed with these teachings until this moment reveals something profound about your soul's readiness for acceleration. Souls don't accidentally find themselves contemplating incarnation cycles and spiritual development. They're drawn to these teachings by inner wisdom, recognizing that important choices lie ahead. Perhaps the most transformative question isn't, how many lives do I have left, but how consciously will I live the life I have now? Your soul has traveled far to reach this point of awareness. It has chosen this incarnation, these circumstances, these challenges and opportunities as the perfect classroom for your continued spiritual development. Every soul reading these words carries accumulated wisdom from previous lifetimes, even if they can't consciously remember those experiences. The insights that resonate most deeply, the teachings that feel like homecoming rather than new information. These are memories stirring from your soul's long journey toward graduation, your willingness to question the nature of existence, to seek truth beyond material appearances, to consider that your life serves purposes greater than personal success. These are signs that your acceleration point may be much closer than you've ever imagined. The path home to the source doesn't require perfect understanding of incarnation mechanics or precise knowledge of your remaining lifetimes. It requires only your willingness to choose love over fear, service over selfishness, consciousness over unconsciousness. In each moment that presents these choices, your soul knows its curriculum, its timeline, its sacred purpose. The inner wisdom that guided you to these teachings will guide you toward whatever graduation awaits. Trust that guidance. Honor the sacred work you came here to do. Live this lifetime with the consciousness that it might be your last opportunity for earthly service, not from fear, but from profound gratitude for the privilege of participating in the cosmic symphony of spiritual evolution. Whether you're a new soul beginning your earthly education or an advanced soul approaching graduation, this moment offers the same infinite potential for transformation. Your journey home begins with your next conscious choice for love. If these teachings have touched something deep within your soul, if they've awakened memories you can't quite place or stirred longings you can't quite name, share that recognition with others walking the same path home. Your insights and experiences matter. Your journey matters. You are not alone on this sacred pilgrimage toward the source. The question that changes everything isn't about counting incarnations, it's about making each one count.